Hello, and welcome to this tutorial for the board game Photosynthesis. It won at least one prize for originality, and in my opinion that's more than fair. Plus, it's a nice game. So, let me explain it to you. You are going to play 3 rounds. Whoever has the most points wins the game. There are 2 things you get points for. First, we have these point tokens. You get those by growing a tree from small to big and then cutting it down. And second, you get points for this. These are called sun points. For every 3 points you have left at the end of the game, you get 1 point. So again, you play 3 rounds and win if you have the most points. That's points for cutting down a full-grown tree, and points for unused points. I'll also immediately tell you exactly how you get those points. And, also nice, you can look at your own player mat to get all this information. First, how to get points for trees. You start with a seed. When you want, you turn that seed into a small tree. Then you can turn that into a medium tree. After that you make it a big tree, and when you're ready to cut it, you remove it from the board and take these points. On the outside you see spaces with 1 leaf on it. That means when you cut a tree from here, you take points from the stack that also shows 1 leaf. Of course, you get more points if you cut a tree from a space that shows 2 leaves, even more when you cut a tree from a space that shows 3 leaves, and the most points when you cut it from the center of the board that shows 4 leaves. Last thing, the highest point on every stack are on top. And whenever someone takes one, the next one could be less points. So don't wait too long before cutting a tree. Again, you get these points when you've grown a tree from small to big, and when you remove it from the board, you take these points. And then those sun points again. At the start of every single turn, every player gets sun points. That's when your trees are in the sunlight. During the game you get these points, but you'll also spend them. But it is possible that at the end of the game you'll have some points left that you didn't use, and you get points for those. If you look on your player mat, you can see that they've made counting those points easy for you. Moving on. What is a round? When every player has had a turn, the sun moves 1 space clockwise. When it has gone all the way around the board, that will be the end of 1 round. As I've said, the game is 3 rounds and then it ends. Every turn has 6 turns because that's how many spaces it takes for the sun to move all the way around the board. And then the last thing I'll explain is how you play the game. But that's the longest part of this video. Still, your player mat in front of you tells you almost everything you need to know. First, simultaneously, all players get sun points. You could almost say it's like getting money that you'll be spending during your turn to do things. How do you get sun points? If you have a little tree, that will give you 1 sun point. If you have a medium tree, that will give you 2 sun points. And if you have a big tree, that will give you 3 sun points. For example, if you have 2 small trees and 1 big tree, that will give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sun points in total. That's the easy part. But now comes the tricky part. You only get sun points if your tree is in the sun. If it's in the shadow, it gets nothing. Let me tell you how that works. It's basically the same as getting sun points. A small tree casts 1 shadow. A medium tree casts 2 shadows. A big tree casts 3 shadow. So, if the sun is here, this big tree is here, and this small tree is here. That means the small tree is in the shadow of the big tree, so it does not get any sun points this turn. Of course, if a big tree is behind a small tree, that doesn't do any harm. The tree still gets plenty of sunlight. So, that's what you all do together at the start of a turn. Take your sun points, beware of the shadows, even if they're from your own trees. Then every player has his own turn. You can do as much as you want for as long as you want to, and as long as you have sun points to spend. When every player has had a turn, you pass over the first player token, you move the sun 1 space clockwise, and then you start over again. Take sun points, and then get your turn. What can you do when it's your turn? Again, it's written right there on your player mat. First, you can get new seeds and trees. I call it shopping. You can buy any of these things from your player mat and put it into your supply. Don't get confused, you don't put stuff from your mat onto the board. You put stuff from your board into your own supply, and then from there it goes onto the board, and from the board it must go back in the player mat. So, first thing you can do when it's your turn is go shopping. The price for every item is listed right next to it. For example, this small tree would cost me 2 sun points. Make sure you always start at the bottom because that's cheaper. Next, you can put something on the board. As you can see, it's written here on your player mat. It costs you 1 sun point to put a seed on the board. It costs you 1 sun point to turn that seed into a small tree. For 2 sun points you can turn that small tree into a medium tree. Then for 3 make that one a big tree. And finally for 4 sun points you can put that big tree down and take a point token from the according stack. Remember, you put stuff on the board from your supply, and you return it from the board back onto your player mat. If you don't have any free space for that, you have to completely remove the item from the game. Sounds bad, but sometimes it's okay, especially in the last round when you won't be going shopping much anyway. A little recap here. When it's your turn, you can go shopping, put a seed on the board, make a small tree, turn it into a medium tree, make that a big tree, or cut the big tree down for points. Two details you must know before you can start. 1. How to place a seed. Seeds don't come from nothing. They drop out of your tree. That works just like the sun points and the shadows. A small tree can drop a seed 1 space next to it. A medium tree can drop a seed 2 spaces. And a big tree can drop a seed up to 3 spaces away from it. That's how you drop seeds from your own trees. And 2, you may only use a space on the game board once per turn. Again, only once may you use a space on the board per turn. For example, during your turn you have turned this small tree into a medium tree. You have now used this space, so you can't turn the medium tree into a big tree in the same turn. You have to wait until your next turn to do that. Another example, this small tree drops a seed. That means you have used this space and this space. You can't do anything else with the tree, and you can't do anything else with the seed. And that's all you need to know to play photosynthesis. Keep looking at your mat for guidance, but take the rulebook if you need to. You play 3 rounds and try to get the most points. First you get all sun points, then one player at a time. Do as much as you can in one turn. Try to avoid shadows, but go ahead and create shadows to block other players. I hope you feel ready to play your first game now and that you'll enjoy it. Thank you for watching and see you for the next one.